Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we have Brady Miller, the digital content manager at goHUNT.com. Brady, how you doing?
Hey, really good, Jay. Excited to be on again.
Yeah, it was great having you on. Last time I saw you, I believe, was at SCI in Vegas, and almost didn't recognize you. You were clean shaven and didn't recognize you.
I know, yeah, I've had to let the beard grow out a little bit. And
are you back to fine form now?
Yeah, back to fine mountain form.
Nice. Well, you just had a weak moment there, or what?
I think I had a lapse in judgment, just wasn't quite thinking clearly. It was, that weird off-season time in between everything.
Either that or there were things growing in your beard that you didn't want there.
Yeah, I found some stuff from the season, yeah.
Well, we're kind of right in the middle of application season here, Brady, and today I wanted to talk to you about Colorado and specifically the deer with the draw coming up April 4th. It's today's the deadline for New Mexico, being the 22nd of March, but April 4th deadline for Colorado's coming up, so I wanted to talk to you about deer and first and foremost, you've had some great success in Colorado yourself hunting deer. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Colorado to me has always, been a spot I've always wanted to check out. And then in the last 2 years, has finally gotten a chance to go over there. Like in 2015, I archery hunted. Never been to the unit before. Hunted with Lorenzo, and that was I'm sure a lot of people might have seen the hunt by now. It's that into thin air one. We did a big video on my high country archery hunt, and it was the heartbreak of my hunting so far. I ended up losing a deer that we figured went like 203 to 207. Just a giant, giant typical with a bunch of inlines and extras, and just like that picture perfect deer everyone's goes to Colorado for in the high country. And I ended up shooting him, and just things didn't work out, and hit him kind of far back quartering away, and we spent 3 days looking for him and hiked over 30 miles zigzagging back and forth trying to find the deer. So Colorado was really awesome in the fact that we never stepped foot in the unit and just scouted it on insiders, grinded it through aero imagery, and found the unit and found where we wanted to go. So that's why I think Colorado is such a gem state. It's like, no matter where you go, you're going to find deer. It's just figuring out what the habitat is that you're comfortable hunting, and then just finding out those little hidden gem spots by grinding out like buck-doe ratios and tag allocation numbers to make sure you're not competing with people. So it's a great state. And then like this last year in 2016, I shot the biggest deer of my life once again. This time, I didn't have that same heartbreak feeling, but I ended up shooting a deer that grossed over 200, and just one of those deer where I stare at all the time, and I just am like, wow, how did this happen to me? And just feel really blessed to have found a deer and then taken a deer, and it's just like one of those weird, crazy stories too. Colorado's just been amazing to me, and it's like how you have to grind out, and you never know what you're going to find, and all of a sudden, boom, you find a giant, and then to be able to take a giant too, it's just icing on the cake. So it's been really good to me.
Yeah, and I think you point out something there is, a couple of these units that you've hunted, they're not the premier units that, it gets so much attention, but you still can find opportunity. And I think that's one thing about Colorado that's so cool is even, their opportunity, there's still giant deer, whereas other states, maybe there's, opportunity type hunts, but maybe the quality isn't as good. Colorado's a little bit of an anomaly in that almost every single unit you can find a big deer if you work at it.
Yep, I totally agree. From the 0 point units to the the 4, 5, 10 point units, there's things for everyone. Like you could hunt it every year if you really want to. If you want to pick up limited weapons like archery, muzzleloader, it's like, I think that's where a lot of the keys in Colorado lies, being able to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, figure out, okay, hey, we're going to go in blind, and kind of just getting the confidence to, hey, just jump over that little, stepping stone and say, hey, I'm going to go Colorado this year. I'm just going to try it out. And like, you'll figure out units, and then you'll be able to hunt them, every other year, or maybe every year if you're in archery. You can pull tags, and point creep a lot of these units, but it's the place to be right now. Even with winter kill and stuff like that, everyone keeps talking about, oh yeah, the winter was so bad in 2016, but really, was it that bad? That's what
it was more norm.
Yeah, it's like we've been so blessed for so long, and it's like I really don't think it was as bad as everyone says. Yeah, there's Gunnison Basin, it got plowed. Like when I was building that Colorado app strategy on goHUNT. I was looking at some of the new weather stuff, and yeah, Gunnison Basin in February got 200 to 250% of normal precipitation just in February. So it's like that's kind of alarming. And just like certain pockets, Colorado got hammered, and same thing with Wyoming. But in Idaho as well, but it's like the rest of the state was really around that like 110, 130% of normal. It's like it's really not that much of an anomaly year, I don't think. And so,
Brady, why don't we take the time for those listening, maybe that haven't listened to any of my other podcasts on Colorado, and just give a brief overview of how the Colorado draw works, and especially with how it works with deer.
Yeah, so Colorado's pretty straightforward in sense of you need to apply every year, so there's no over-the-counter tags. So the application deadline, like I said, was April 4th, and basically it runs on a true preference point system. So the tags are awarded to people with the most points, and it's kind of a difficult state to maybe apply for a lot of people because you do have to front all the fees. So what is it? You have to pay up front. I think it's like, deer tags $379. You have an app fee along with that, and so you end up being everything but like $43 you get back when you do it. So once you apply, if you don't draw, you'll gain a preference point that year, and it'll go towards you next year. So it's just the preference point scale. So a lot of times you can look and you can bank on, okay, this unit takes 3-4 points to draw. Pretty much have no chance up until you get to that point, and boom, then you'll be able to draw the tag.
Yeah, so it's a true preference point where you have to have that many bonus points in order to have a chance. Mm-hmm. Unless something I learned from Chris Rowe is that hybrid draw, I believe and this is for elk. I'm not sure if it works for deer, but the hybrid draw, if there's if it takes more than 10 points for a resident in Colorado to draw, then it goes into a hybrid draw, and it actually that unit goes where you actually do have somewhat of a little bit of a chance to draw in a general pool type situation.
Yep, that is correct. Yep.
Does that apply for deer? Do you know?
I wouldn't be 100% certain on that. I think it does have an elk and deer effect.
Okay.
I've never looked into that because I always try to find those easier draw areas, but I mean, the next biggest thing I would probably, like people to touch on is like in Colorado, you do have first through fourth choice, but really first choice in Colorado and slightly second choice are everything. I mean, like I pulled some numbers off a bunch of the state reports when I built the app strategy, and it was like 86% of deer tags in Colorado are drawn first choice. And right away it's like, oh, that's a super alarming number. But then you get down to like, okay, what's second choice? Second choice only covers 11.9%. And then so you're looking at all the tags are being taken up in that first choice, second choice, and then third choice is only getting 1.5%, and then fourth choice is 0.6% of all the tags.
So really 1 and 2 are, pretty much all that matters.
Yeah, you're really not drawing anything else. So it's like, yeah, that's why I always got to try to find, okay, am I going to hunt this year and build a point and try to hunt and try to draw a second choice unit, or, bank on just applying to, you can even gain a preference point and not try to apply. We still have to upfront the fees and, plan out for future years. So I really like Colorado's system. I think it's one of the most straightforward systems, and it's, like I said, it's kind of easy to plan around, which I always like. You can say, hey, I'm going to hunt these other states this year, and I'm going to bank on Colorado, 2-3 years, or hey, I'm going to build up 7-8 points for a different higher tier unit. So
for sure,
it's a good system.
One question, so you've talked about the draw, talked about how it works. Mule deer for you, in knowing you and following, what you do, it seems like mule deer are the animal that you really, really like the most. I'm curious if you could speak to the animal itself?
Yeah, like habits of it, the animal, or what do you?
Yeah, just from a standpoint of why, do you truly like mule deer? Do you like to hunt mule deer over the other animals?
Oh, yeah, I could easily dive in that. That could be a whole hour and a half long discussion. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It just comes down to, I think, just the level of, not like skill set, quote unquote, you need, but it's just like a lot of things have to come together in a mule deer hunt. They're in every terrain pretty much in the West, which I think is really cool. You can hunt them in high alpine basins. You can hunt them down in the nasty deserts. You can hunt them in the sagebrush country and the rolling hills. You can hunt them, in big, eastern plains of Montana and everywhere in between. And it's like, I love glassing. That's my biggest thing. I just love, technical optics and sitting there and glassing apart a mountain, feel like you're just soaking in the moment of the hunt. And I feel like that's a really cool part of mule deer, because it's kind of, you have to work really hard to get into mule deer habitat. And once you're up there, it's like, well, then the work really starts, because now you got to try to find these animals. And I just think I don't know, I understand why guys love elk hunting. They bugle and, run at you, scream in your face. And just like mule deer, you're just up there, it's all pristine in the morning. You're just yourself, you're, sipping on a coffee next to you and get your big optics up, just glassing big terrain. And to me, that's just a pinnacle of hunting, is hunting a mule deer in the mountains and trying to take one that way. It's just I don't think there's anything better really than glassing every day, finding a big velvet buck, finding a hardhorn buck in the rut. And there's a weird animal that's just so, their little habits they do, they're so predictable at some time of the year. Then other times of the year, they just throw those weird tricks at you, and how does this deer get away? How does he survive all these seasons? All these, from August until November, they're hunted, and it's just a true survivor, I guess. And it's just super, super addicting to me to figure out all these different states. And you can hunt them a lot too, which is I like. So you can really learn and become a student of the mule deer, and learn your tactics all the time, and just something you can keep advancing at. And I think there's just so many things to learn about mule deer in every state you go to. There's always a new learning curve, a new learning experience they throw at you, in a sense. Yeah,
and I mean, it's one of those things too, you would think that, you see a standard boxy 4x4 and, well, I've got several of those. Those don't really turn me on. But I don't know what it is about a nice big boxy 4x4 mule deer, that may look very, very similar to, a bunch of bucks that you've already harvested. If you're anything like me, there's just something about, it's a little wider, it's a little taller, it's a little heavier, it flares out just a little bit more. I mean, there's something about a mule deer rack I really, really like.
Yeah, and then the cool thing too, just about that you're saying, is I always love the terrain they're in at the time. It's okay, yeah, it's a nice big boxy 4-point, and he's in this big nasty avalanche chute, or this big high bowl where he gets to navigate around all these other smaller bucks and get up on top of them and try to scale down, and it's super technical hike, and you're just that adventure side of it I just love. It's I'd rather find a cool buck in a really cool terrain area where the scenery is just amazing, compared to maybe grinding out in a nasty desert unit for 2 weeks only seeing a couple deer. I just love, that's gonna be fun too, but it's I just love that big adventure side. You just never know where the buck's gonna be every single day. Sometimes you're oh, hey, this buck's 1,000 feet above all these mountain goats. Why is he way up above these mountain goats? These deer are so rugged, and just that adventure side of it I think is really cool.
For sure. Let's dive into some of the units, and you can kind of take it from there, whether you want to kind of do top tier, mid tier, lower tier, or however you want to break it down. And let's hear about some of the different units in Colorado.
Yeah, so my biggest thing I always try to tell people is, not to have a ton of points in a lot of these states, because you're really buying time in your life when you're hunting. And so it's guys get caught up and they hear about a great unit in Colorado. They hear about, oh yeah, 44 in Colorado, need to apply there. And it's well, guys just starting out, you're never going to catch some of these point curves or, the point creeps. And it's you're just going to, you hear a unit's really good and you're just going to apply for it, not knowing how Colorado's draw system works. I was saying, it's all the preference stuff. So you're going to be sitting there waiting and never going out and going hunting. And that's where I feel a lot of guys really need to really dive into the draw odds and figure out, okay, what actually does this unit hold for the terrain? How does it fit for them? Because you can actually go on more hunts in Colorado and not wait all these 10, 15 years. It's really tough when you get down to it. Because then, like I was saying before about the whole experience side of it, you don't know what you're getting into when you finally draw that tag, and it's so much pressure is going to be put on you. Whereas you could draw a 3-point, 5-point, 7-point unit and go hunting more often, which I always think is way better than waiting for a dream tag. But a lot of guys have different things they would like to do in Colorado. They might use Colorado as a trophy state and use Idaho, Montana as one of their every year type things. So it's just all kind of, I guess, what your goals are. And that's why I think Colorado is great, because it has everything from the 0-point units to the really hard point units. And I guess right off the bat, the best thing I always do, because working for goHUNT, we have the insider program, so it's boom, right when you jump onto Colorado, you look at it, it's okay, where to start? There's whatever, there's 100 and, off the top of my head, 180 some units, I believe, in Colorado. And it's just okay, where do you dive into going through that? Are you get a guy who wants trophy potential? Are you just an archery hunter? And that's where you can really eliminate everything right away. It's okay, let's just talk about, let's go third season rifle. So it's okay, you want a third season rifle hunt. You just eliminate a bunch of those hunts on our filtering 2.0. That's easiest way to start diving into what you're going to be looking for. And so I'll say, hey, let's look for about a deer that's 170, 180 type deer, and then I can eliminate a bunch of stuff. A lot of stuff in Central Park, Colorado is going to be eliminated around the big city areas. But it's so 170 in Colorado really is still the whole state. Colorado's potential for a giant deer everywhere. So it's that's also the fun part. You just never know what you're going to get into in the state. And so it's to me, when you get down into it, it's I always try to say, okay, I would like to take a 180 bucks. I just eliminate so many different units. I'm not saying those 170 units are, not as great, but that's why I like those, because they're hidden gem a little bit. They're easier to draw, and you can hunt them every year. But it's so for this example, let's use a 180 inch deer. Now we have now we're down to 39 results of what we can look for that matches our filtering on trying to find a unit. So instantly it pops up to me as, right now, winter kill, everyone's Gunnison Basin's kind of getting bad. I do think it's slightly a problem, but not enough for people to I shouldn't apply that this year. If you did have the points to go, I would go to Gunnison this year myself. But talking about easy to draw units, I would like all the units around Durango, 71, 74, 751, 775, that terrain and those units to me are typical Colorado. Just the units that you can hunt a lot. You can hunt that third season, I think, pretty much every year. It's usually 100% draw. And, those are the type of hunts I would look for, is just okay, what's that terrain going to match? Are the draw odds going to match what I want to? The tags aren't ridiculously crazy. And at the same time, I always try to figure out, okay, when you're looking at a spot to try to apply, if you have a lot of points, let's say maybe you had 5 points, how many, elk hunters are going to be in the field the same time you are? A lot of these units have, over-the-counter elk hunting seasons and second season, third season, and so forth. And it's if you're going to draw a really good tag, you don't want to be competing with, 500 to 1,000 over-the-counter rifle guys. Not saying you couldn't use that to your advantage while you're hunting, but it's just hey, that's a lot of guys in the field driving around, hiking around on horseback in the backcountry with you. So it's a lot of times you can't just be in your mindset oh, this is a Mule Deer unit, I'm going to go there. Hey, look at the overall picture. I think that's really a big thing, is what does that unit have in it besides for Mule Deer?
Yeah, I think you bring a great point, because you could have some of these units that that time of year, the deer and the elk, let's say that if they're inhabiting the same country, well, all the hunters are going to be in the same country too. I think that's another thing where, yes, there might be over-the-counter elk tags, but maybe are those deer going to be in a different transition zone or such, and maybe the country doesn't overlap as much as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where a lot of times too you have to pay attention to, hey, is it a heavy private land area for a third season, fourth season type hunter? You're going to get migrated down in a spot that's not going to be huntable, or they can get migrated down in an area where it could be, the thick oak brush or the thick aspen trees where you're not going to be able to glass. So a lot of that plays in part. That's why I dive into, I'm filtering it down and filtering 2.0. I'll dive into a unit profile. Like, hey, I'll check out the whole terrain. What's that unit going to have into it? And then you can really know what you're, getting into before you're going to, blow a bunch of points or, just try to draw easier to draw units. Like all those things, I think people need to really pay attention to when you're building your application strategy, when you're figuring out if you can, this year or 5 years down the road. It's like figuring out what you're comfortable hunting and that sort of thing. It's like, Colorado has it all. You have stuff on the eastern side of Colorado, which I'm not quite familiar with because I kind of block out the plains as totally unhuntable because, you really pretty much need private land access. You can draw the tags, but then, hey, where are you going to go hunting? Because almost all of eastern Colorado is private. But there's giant deer taken over there every single year. You see some of the biggest deer come out of the eastern plains. But
Brady, you've been with goHUNT, pretty much from the beginning, and you've seen the insider basically develop. And now, one question I would have is, how has it just become a tool for you to, pound through all of these states? And how has it kind of progressed, like the quality of the actual insider and the quality of the way the data is, you can, plow through it? How has that helped you?
I think it's helped me, tenfold on showing me, opportunities and just the weird nuances of every state. Like I used to live right next to Idaho, like up in the northwest corner of Montana for, 10 years. And now I'm kicking myself. Hey, why didn't I jump over the border, get over my quote unquote fears of out of state hunting? And I thought, oh, yeah, Montana has the greatest hunting in the world. I'm right up here. I don't want to travel around. I have so much opportunity. I could hunt from August until November in Montana. And now I'm like, why did I never go to Idaho? Idaho had awesome mule deer hunting, even really good whitetails right across the border from me. I only had to drive, a couple hours, and boom, I would have been great hunting again. And super cheap licenses. They're over the counter. And that's what I feel like right now. I'm like, man, why didn't I have goHUNT, 10 years ago? And all this stuff now is just showing everyone hey, there's opportunity in states. You can just navigate things so much faster. Just being take a state and break it down to, what you're looking for quality-wise, what you're looking for harvest success. You want high buck-doe ratios. You want a higher chance to find a quality buck in the unit. You can just sort all the units by that. So it has everything for the trophy hunter, the over-counter hunter, even, a guy who just wants to, draw a tag and shoot a meat buck or a meat bull. It's you have those opportunities in front of you. It's just, and being able to take the data, since we're all online, we just constantly are figuring out ways hey, let's just incorporate this in the filtering system. This would be really good because it would, eliminate more units for people or help people that are looking for this certain thing. So we're constantly able to add new tools on there and figure out new ways to manipulate the data and show it in a clean format to people where it makes sense, and then to associate them with the unit level. That's where the whole powers are, to be able to filter down. Okay, yeah, filter the harvest success, and then be able to sort by buck-doe ratio, add on the trophy potential, and then, boom, right there you just have a very powerful system of narrowing down a unit to find for. We're back in the day, I was, doing the whole spreadsheet thing myself and grinding it out, but then I wasn't even knowing what that unit holds. All I was going off of is hearsay of, oh yeah, there's good deer in this unit, or hey, look at this big report, try to dive through it all, waste, a week of my life trying to figure out, okay, what all these codes mean, what all this mean, and how it's all clean and easy. I think the biggest part, it's all easy and right in front of you. I can research on my phone, I can research on my computer. It's it makes that research so much better, so you can spend more time figuring out where you're going to go hunting in that unit after you've been able to do all your draw odds, you've been able to narrow it down. It's then you can prepare for being in the field because this research time is cut in half, maybe even more than that.
For sure. Let's specifically dive in first to some of the units, for those guys out there that have a bunch of points and they're looking for, let's call them, top tier units. Just in your mind, what jumps out at you as, some of the best units as far as quality with absolutely, no regards to points, just units themselves that you feel like are units that should be on people's radar for sure?
No, everyone always talks about, Unit 44 in Colorado, and with, with really good reasons. I feel like those Eagle County, typically produces the highest Boone and Crockett of anywhere in Colorado. Colorado in general, produces. I mean, you just look at the Boone and Crockett record book in Colorado. It's like 778 Boone and Crockett bucks. Typical bucks have been taken all time, and the next closest state is Idaho at 273. So instantly, right there, you can be like, just like Colorado, if you want a really high scoring buck, is the place to go. And so it's just like, you look at unit 44, and it's going to take you a lot of points to draw. I mean, it might be worth it to the guys who have high point levels. It's an area that really doesn't get hammered with winter kill. They have, really good winter range, which I always like to, look at the whole picture of it. Like, hey, where the deer are going to migrate to, where it's going to, what's going to be impacting them throughout the whole year system. You get the constantly mule deer are always hammered by mountain lions, hammered by winter kill, hammered by hunters. It's like, it's a, just like every species, it's kind of a big thing. So like 44, I really like, even in the Gunnison Basin, 54, 55, 52 is really good. It's like they're all these big top tier units are actually obtainable, but it's still, are you willing to wait, or are you willing to hunt every year? So I think a lot of guys who have a lot of points, really, that's what I think that, obviously I love using insider stuff for everything, but it just makes it so much faster. I can say, hey, I have draw odds. I have, show me all the tags I can draw. I have 10 points at 70% or better draw odds, and boom, instantly, you have that right at your fingertips of what you can actually draw in every single season, which is great because a lot of guys might have 10 points. Like, hey, I don't want to wait 15 more or 5 more years. I want to draw right now. What can I draw? And they'd be like, hey, I can actually draw a muzzy hunt in 55, or I could, just burn my points and draw an archery hunt in 44, for example. It's like figuring out what you can do with those points is very powerful. And especially when you get up in that time, like, you've spent so much of your time waiting, like, you deserve a really good hunt. And that's where you really start like grinding out data, and like, this is why, I can just grind it all out and compare units really fast.
And don't you think the hunters these days are becoming more adaptable as far as, maybe the guy that used to only rifle hunt, now he's open to muzzleloader hunting, now he's open to archery hunting. I mean, he may be an archery hunter, but all of a sudden there's a muzzleloader hunt in a great unit, or maybe a second season or a second choice hunt that he can hunt with a rifle, and he realizes, well, man, I could actually do this and hunt with a rifle. Or it seems like the hunter today is becoming more and more adaptable, and I think that's because of, some of these units are harder to draw, so they have to figure other ways to do it.
Exactly. I totally think so. It just opens. I used to be a guy too, stuck in my ways, and I'm a giant archery hunter at heart, but it's like I've picked up the rifle the last few years just to expand my season more. And it's been great. It's been phenomenal. I shot my giant here in Colorado this last year with the rifle in third season, and it's like, even if you're the opposite, if you're a diehard rifle guy, like you're saying, like, yeah, pick up a muzzleloader. Colorado's really limited in muzzle and like what you can use for muzzleloader, that whole open sight thing. But it's like, still, it opened the door to hunting more, and hunting some of these units that are kind of unattainable because you can't draw them with a rifle. So you might as well drop down to a muzzleloader, try to draw that tag if you have the points, and then even if you're still at that point range where that's, you're not going to catch a muzzleloader hunt, pick up a bow. Like, the technology of the weapons nowadays too, just it's adds right in there. They're easy to pick up, they're easy to learn, they're easier to to figure out. So that's why, going back to it again, that's why Colorado's a gem. It's got things for everyone.
Yeah, for me, I've hunted Unit 66. It's got a mix of public and private. It's in the Gunnison Basin. It's still questionable whether it's, that winter kill's going to affect it. The last time I hunted there was in 2009. That was 2 years after the winter kill. I was able to find, it was one of the only bucks I found that was a mature buck. I'm really hoping that, that the deer, those mature deer somehow figure out a way to escape that winter, and that there's some bucks left. But it's kind of sketchy. You mentioned 54, 55, even like a 67.
Yeah, I was just going to say 67 as well. Because, all those units we're mentioning right now, too, have buck-doe ratios like upwards of the 40s, 41, 43, 44 buck 44 to 100 buck doe ratio, like that's ideal when you're talking about, getting a lot of mature bucks in the field. You have a higher chance of finding, that 180, maybe even a 190 type buck. It's like, that's why a lot of those, Colorado's great too, because they're so well managed is the biggest thing in Colorado. They've taken their deer herds from, now I guess deer herds are kind of struggling in the West in a lot of places, but Colorado's still the top of the game when it comes to managing the unit properly, and the results speak for themselves every single season.
Yeah, another unit 21. That's one that's always at the top of the heap. Seems like it has a lower buck to doe ratio, but it's always up there as far as trophy quality bucks. Mm-hmm. And then Brady, as you drop down and maybe go with more of a 170 type, what are some units, handfuls of units that you would say are kind of that next tier down, but still can find I think any of these units like we talked about, you could find a giant deer.
Oh yeah, any of them you can. That's why, like you're saying, Colorado's so great about this. It's like a lot of the, like, I would say 170 type hunts, or the stuff around, Snowmass, Aspen area. Like you get into, the whole Grand Mesa, and some of those really trophy units as well. But like you have 25, 26, you have 231, you have 15s really really decent units. It's like a lot of stuff we're talking about, are the big mountain hunts, but still, like it still has a terrain a lot of people could do for a third season rifle, or even if you want to try to draw a 4th season rifle. It's there, even some of those units that are 170 draws might be takes you 4 points to draw them. Like you're still looking at buck doe ratios that are insanely high for a lot of the other states. Like doesn't even come close to the buck doe ratio. Like Colorado's almost twice as better as like Montana. Even though Montana doesn't give out buck doe ratios, but it's like I hunt Montana a lot, and I hunt Colorado now quite a bit, and it's like seeing the amount of bucks that you have when you're hunting Colorado compared to Montana. It blows your mind. Like that's why getting out of your home state and trying out Colorado should be on everyone's bucket list.
I think something worth mentioning here is the season dates. Last year, I believe that 4th season, that final day was it bumped back the furthest it had been, and everyone was so jazzed about it. But then we had that warm stretch during the fall, and it was good, but it wasn't incredible like what a lot of people were thinking, because there wasn't much snow, it was warm, it didn't push the deer down. But I'm looking at the season dates this year, like the 4th rifle season is November 15th through the 19th. The third deer season is November 4th through the 12th. I mean, so still the third season is, if you get the right kind of weather, you could have real ruddy deer, acting deer, that 3rd season. And then even the 2nd rifle deer season, October 21st to the 29th. I mean, some of those, there's some units out there, I think, for that 2nd rifle season that if you kind of know what you're doing, I think you have a great chance to go in there and find a 180-inch plus deer.
Exactly. And then here's another thing, too, you think about. So everyone was banking on those late season dates like you just talked about. And so a lot of people burned their points last year on some of those really good units. And a lot of those deer, because the weather, did not get taken in 2016. A lot of the bigger deer, maybe some guys settled out for, a smaller deer towards the end. But still, like, because a lot of the mature deer, if they survive the winter, this year could be still, a banner year. The dates are only a day early.
Day, yeah.
Is not going to hurt you one day. And then if you're an archery hunter, I feel like it's better. Right now, our archery season's opening earlier, so now you're getting the August 26th date compared to, I hunted it 2 years ago. I think it was like the 28th or 29th it opened. So you get a little better chance, to get a really good buck pattern in velvet, which, during the early season, they're so predictable, and you get, that more time before they start stripping.
Yeah, for sure. I'm afraid to ask you to come up and fish with me, because I'm afraid when we'd wake up in the morning, you wouldn't be anywhere around, and you'd be up in the high country, looking for mule deer.
Exactly. Yeah. We hung out there 2 years ago for a little before we headed in the backcountry, I was just licking my chops, like look at all these streams just everywhere waiting for to be touched.
Yeah,
but then I had the mule deer all around me too. So it's like what do I do? You know, I only have a certain amount of time.
yeah, exactly. You quickly forgot about the streams as soon as you saw your next deer and you said, okay, yeah, let's go hunting.
Exactly. There's so many cool things to do in Colorado. Those guys have it made who are residents. Don't ever leave.
Do you, you're obviously hoping to, slide in and draw something in Colorado, but you also are going to be hunting, Nevada, and what other states do you think you'll have opportunities in and potentially have a tag?
Yeah, I'm hoping to, jump on Wyoming again. I drew out last year with my points, and I'm, hoping to draw with another guy in the office this year to get back to.
That was when you had those great pictures. We did that podcast in that snow, and you told me that story about shooting that buck. You were by yourself, and
yep, the big rugged nasty snowstorm where it just dumped on me all night. Yeah, and the next day it was just picture perfect, and yeah, that was. I'm hoping to get back there. Might try. I'm still gonna try to draw the same region, and might grind out a new part of that region. Just you never know what you're gonna find in Wyoming, and that's why I think Wyoming definitely got slammed harder than Colorado. So I'm kind of nervous about that part of it. But like I don't know if I mentioned right now, but it's like I have this weird strategy in my head about the winter kill stuff. So it's like a lot of biologists I'm talking to. It's like either 40% to 60, even some like 80% numbers are being thrown out there of winter killed fawns. So it's like a lot of guys are saying they're finding dead fawns all the place, dead fawns here and there. They're not finding a lot of mature bucks dead. Yeah, there's some that are dying. But still, there's a lot of mature bucks that died last year in the winter because they had some weird late snowfall. So it's like if you don't go this year and go hunting, I feel like you're gonna miss it, and all of a sudden 3-4 years from now, or even 2 years, there's gonna be this lapse of no bucks because all these fawns are dying. So yeah, 3-4 years from now, the mature age class is gonna be gone in a lot of these states, and they're gonna be wondering, every guy's gonna be struggling. They're gonna have their points built up and want to go hunting then. So a lot of guys are scared this year, but I'm like, back in my head, I'm thinking, okay, some guys are going to be scared, but my thought right now is, yeah, they'll still be mature bucks surviving. There's going to be not a lot of fawns, which I'm not hunting a fawn, I'm hunting a, 5-6-year-old deer.
Right.
So that's kind of my hope right now is jumping into Wyoming. It's still going to be productive. And same thing with Colorado. I was kind of nervous about Colorado because right now I have points for, I'm building on points for my brother. He's from Minnesota. I really want to take him a really good mountain hunt because we always go to Montana every year and hunt during Thanksgiving. I always do really well in Montana, but I want to show him like, hey, this is what Colorado's like. This is what Wyoming's like. It's a lot different than what we've been hunting in Montana. And so I'm kind of nervous about, I don't want to have him burn his points and we go on a hunt and don't find a lot of deer. So at the same time, I'm like, hey, Bryce, maybe we'll wait and we'll go in 2018 and see what's going to be like. Or even then, if you can't hit 2018, I'm probably going to tell him we're going to wait till 3 years after that maybe to go because I don't want to, have that lapse of bucks per se.
Yeah, you bring up a great point that you're hunting a mature deer, and what you may hope for is that if, a few of those mature deer make it through. But like you said, if you wait and don't put in over the next 3, 4, 5 years, that's when the impact of a lot of these fawns dying in some of these units, and then you're waiting anyway.
Yeah, and then you're going to be waiting a long time.
Right.
And then it's like, what's point creep going to do? Oh, the guys are going to start banking points, and it's like things can get a little scary out there for a lot of units.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I'm trying to do Colorado, try to sneak in there. I'm trying to sneak in Wyoming again because now Wyoming don't have the points, so it's going to be a difficult part. But luckily, I got the special draw and trying to get in that way. But other than that, I think. I should draw Utah this year, so that's what a hunt I'm really excited for. I should draw a Utah archery mule deer tag, awesome. And I'm really excited to try that state finally and just grind it out. I know a lot of people definitely it gets a lot of pressure, but it's a state I've always wanted to go to, and it's just a big buck mecca. And then I got Montana always with my family during Thanksgiving. I always take them out there, so it's gonna be a full mule deer season again, but. Yeah, right now Colorado's on the mind. I still haven't applied yet myself, and I'm kind of weighing out hey, what should I do this year? What do I need to do? And That's why at least I have all these tools in front of me that just make it so much easier. I built the Colorado app strategy, so I have so many ideas in my head of these places to go, but I'm still what to do with winter kill, what to do with hunting with another guy in the office. We're both going to go out together, so we both need to find 2 tags that we can draw, and so that adds another aspect to it.
Yeah, one thing we didn't mention is that Colorado also has a landowner voucher program where I did a podcast with Clay Hill and with Cliff Gray, and was talking to those guys about the landowner voucher system. And Colorado is a unique state in that you can buy landowner tags and be able to hunt. There's private land only landowner vouchers, and then there's unit wide landowner vouchers where you can hunt the whole unit. And that's an opportunity if you have the resources, have the means to do it. Might be a great opportunity for you. You can still apply. You can still build points. But if you have the resources, you can also get a landowner voucher or a unit-wide voucher and have a great hunt.
Exactly, and a lot of guys frown on landowner tags, but I'm like, why? It makes sense to me to be able to use that and capitalize on it. At the same time, you're contributing still. You're going out there and you're still have to buy a tag, and the great thing about it is you could buy a landowner tag in the same unit you're going to draw the following year to kind of go at a hunting / scouting trip. It's so beneficial to me to do that. You get so much more experience buying a landowner tag. And there's landowner tags that go for relatively, not a lot of money. It's basically 2 years worth of what you would be paying for a tag. You can get cheap landowner archery tags, and then you're scouting that unit, you're hunting it the year before, figuring out, hey, this is a train I actually was really good at. If I had a chance to go back there again, which I had the points to, this is what I would do different.
Yeah, for sure. And you can buy landowner tags in some of the lesser units as well, not even the top tier units, and maybe learn something that might help you in your application for the following year.
Yep. And also Colorado has the really great leftover draw that I believe normally happens August 1st at 9 a.m. That's an in-person. There's all the tags they turn back in are available in leftover draw. You can get that list when you apply, and they also show the list online later on. But so then on August 2nd, you can apply online for these leftover tags. And last year there was phenomenal leftover tags. It was ridiculous. I think there was a 55 archery tag. There was all these just phenomenal. There was a 44 third season. And I think there was even a 44 fourth season if I remember right. And they're definitely changing the whole leftover tag process this year, and how I think it's any tag that took more than 5 preference points to draw will automatically try to go down to the next eligible person. But still, later on, if that person turns it back in, it'll still go into the leftover pool, so still be able to get a chance to get those. And that's why you pick up a lot of those, 0 to 2 point units is on the leftover draw, and it's eventually becomes first come first serve. And it's a great opportunity if you didn't draw in other states. Now, hey, you can pick up a leftover tag and still hunt Colorado. So it's a win-win, really.
Yeah, for sure. Brady, I want to thank you for coming on today with us and sharing some of your knowledge. I want to thank the sponsors. You mentioned goHUNT. goHUNT Insider has been a sponsor of my podcast kind of from the beginning. If you use the J Scott promo code, you get a $50 goHUNT gift card just for signing up. Brady has already talked about the value of the resource of the Insider. It's an incredible tool. I use it all the time. I applied for New Mexico and just got done applying for New Mexico and really, was looking at a lot of stuff there. Also, goHUNT. goHUNT.com, phonescope.com. Use the JScott16 promo code. You get a 10% discount on all PhoneScope product. And then the Outdoorsman's, the Optics Authority. Use the JScott promo code and you'll get a 10% discount over there with Cody Nelson and his crew. Well, it's an exciting time, Brady, and I guess you've got lots of great opportunities already in front of you. I hope you figure out your Colorado, and finally just at some point you're just going to have to make a decision and go with it. I know you're like me, you analyze stuff so much that sometimes you kind of get locked up, at least I do, where you're trying to figure it out and you've got so many variables. But I know you'll come up with a great strategy, and wish you the best of success in the draw here in Colorado.
Hey, same to you. It's an exciting time. We're, shoving a lot of money different places, and it kind of hurts. But then, a couple months from now, we'll all be itching to get these draw results. So it's really fun right now.
Awesome, buddy. Well, thanks for spending time with us. Thanks for sharing your expertise, and I know the listeners always enjoy having you on, and I just look forward to seeing your success this coming year.
Hey, same to you, Jay. Good luck to you.
All right, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Yep.